Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
'Body and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachariah Meisenheimer.
And no Steve with us on the podcast this week.
Well, to be fair, Steve's always with us in spirit.
He is. I believe he actually flew out to Montreal, was appointed head coach of their academy, but then fired the next day. Or I think that's what they do out there. Did you see all that stuff about Sandro Grande? Wow.
Do you remember watching Sandro as a player?
Vaguely, I think.
Oh, no, I don't remember vaguely. I remember he used to not like Sandro as an opposition player.
But the name rang a bell, but yeah.
What did he say? Like, what was his tweets? I don't even know. I didn't look into that part of it. I just know he got fired for them.
I did, and I'll let people just Google that if you don't know the story.
Sorry.
It's best for us not to get into that. I'll wait till I've got Eve back on the show, and we'll delve into that with her. I was watching, haven't finished it yet. I watched the start of the latest The Ball Is Round podcast where they had to talk about that off the bat, but they really wanted to quickly move on from that altogether. Yeah, it's interesting times out in Montreal. We'll cover a little bit of that in the show tonight. We're mostly going to be looking at Canadian Premier League in this episode of the show. That's going to take up the bulk of parts 2, 3 and 4. We'll touch on some Whitecaps and MLS chat in the first part as well. And just a few other things just here and there. But I want to start off with the big, important news of the week, Zach. We touched on it on last week's show. The Hot Chocolate Festival has begun in Vancouver. Started on Saturday. I was there Saturday morning getting my first hot chocolate of the festival from Chez Christophe in Burnaby on Hastings Street. Absolutely delicious. 41% Swiss milk hot chocolate with cayenne, chili powder, cinnamon, maple syrup, with house-made, freshly made whipped cream on the top, and paired with a delicious pull-apart bacon croissant type pastry. Absolutely delicious. Highly recommend it. So one down. There's 95 different cafes taking part in the 13th Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival, Zach. Caitlin's crunched the numbers, looked at the things that she thinks we'll like. She's got it down to 29. So whether we might have diabetes by the end of this, I don't know. But it's one down, 28 to go is how I'm looking at it.
You can do it.
I think I can.
I should have looked into that because I was briefly driving through an area that I might have had one of those.
Although it says Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival, they're into Burnaby and New West and some.
I'm pretty sure I was close to one.
But highly recommend getting that. And then as that wraps up, the Poutine Festival is going to be getting underway. 14 days of poutine. So, yeah, hopefully I make it through to our 10th anniversary show at the end of March. But it's touch and go. But we'll see how that goes. Something else I want to talk about off the bat is how we finished talking on last week's episode. We looked at some potential football rule changes that may want to see. So we've had some interesting feedback from that. So I just want to go over some of that just now. Steve, not our Steve, a different Steve, left a comment on the website, which we always highly recommend you do, aftn.ca. So talking about the rule changes, he came up with a couple of interesting ones. Injured players, he's got injured in inverted commas, get 15 seconds to get up. If he doesn't, then the trainer's called on the pitch. Once the trainer is on, the player must wait 3 minutes before returning. And that was trialled in MLS Next Pro last season. And I quite liked how that kind of worked out. It does take away a bit of the faking, time wasting.
Yeah, that could be interesting. That's the kind of thing it might be nice to see if the laws of the games experts or whatever felt it went well at a level like that. It would be nice to see it be tried at a different level, like kind of moving up the football pyramid, if you will.
Yeah, this is all these kind of things. I wouldn't mind stuff like this getting trialed in the Leagues Cup, to be honest.
Leagues Cup would be another good opportunity, because obviously
you play Mexican players for one thing. That'd be a great opportunity.
They're down to 8 players. No, but I think it would be good to go from a level like MLS Next Pro into a higher level, and see if it still is something that works well. But yeah, that's an interesting one.
The next one I'm not a big fan of, which is following a red card, the opponent chooses which match the player must serve the 1-game suspension from.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
I can see why you would maybe want that, because we've seen it before, players picking up a card that makes them miss the next game that doesn't necessarily mean something, or they might not have played in anyway, so that they don't risk getting a suspension or something for a game down the line that's important. But yeah, that wouldn't happen. This next idea of Steve, it's a bit complicated, but it's about extra time. And he says requires the substitutions for all players who have played 90 minutes. You could also reduce to 9v9, which I don't mind the player reduction part for extra time. The team with the deeper bench has the advantage, which is what I then don't like, because that does favour the bigger teams that have got money to completely stack their roster. And he says you could also play longer to find a winner. I do like the idea, though, of not having 11v11 in extra time, or at least start off first 15 minutes 11v11, next 15 10v10, or if a player's been sent off 10v9, how it would work out. Basically, you just take one player off. Then if you're still level, maybe play another 15 minutes of 9v9 or something like that. Or you could even do 10-minute intervals.
So I guess the requiring of all the starters to be subbed off is to help to deal with the stress on the players, which that from a whatever sports safety or athlete safety perspective, that's kind of understandable, because I don't think you can just keep going. Like, I don't think it's probably. I think players unions and stuff would have a massive issue with that. But yeah, if you're reducing the number of players with all new players, maybe that's something you trial. Although obviously these things only happen in knockout competitions or like playoffs or whatever. So like how often they get used would be very limited, even in Leagues Cup, right? Like there's a group stage to that, right? And
so there won't be extra time or anything till the knockout stage. Well, even then, who knows if there's even going to be extra time.
Yeah, or with a competition like that, I guess they wouldn't want it with a group stage. But I wonder if in some type of competition like that, where typically or traditionally there would be ties, you could say, we're not doing ties. Every game has to have a winner, which again also feels too far away from football.
Back in the NASL days and stuff.
Yeah.
But then MLS Next Pro had last season, which I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but I didn't mind it in the end, which was if the game's level after 90. Game level after 90, straight to penalty kicks.
Right.
So if you won that, you got 2 points as opposed to 3, so you just got an extra point. And it was interesting, made for some fun end to.
And if you lost, you still got the one, right?
Yeah. So you still at least got a point from it. The last suggestion from Steve, which I agree this would be good in all bar one thing, which we'll get to. So he says, follow the NCAA clock rules, i.e. it stops for cards, for goals, for time wasting, substitutions it stops for as well. You could also give the referee discretion to allow a promising attack to continue if the clock reaches 0. The only thing I don't like about the NCAA clock is it counts down. I like the clock counting up, but I mean, that's a small thing you could do.
Yeah.
I was a bit, when I first started watching SFU, I was like, I don't know about this. But the more I've watched it, I like how it stops. And then, I mean, we never discussed this with you, Stephen. We discussed it about the World Cup games, all this extra time that was added on. I thought that was fantastic, and I hope it continues.
So a couple of things. One, I enjoyed it as well. It meant I got to stay in those stadiums.
Yeah, you got to see more bang for your buck.
It was like an extra 20 minutes every game. There was a study or whatever done, calculations made or whatever. This was, I think, partway through the group stage that said even with the excessive, or not excessive, with the quote unquote true time added on, the amount that was actually played was still like the same. Like the amount of time where the game was actually, like, the ball was moving or whatever, was no different than a normal game. The percentage was like no different or something. I remember reading that and having a conversation in our apartment about, while in Doha. But yeah, I mean, the Bundesliga doesn't come back till this Friday, so I haven't watched anything but highlights really of the other leagues. Have any of the other leagues adopted that? They haven't, right?
I don't know if they've officially adopted it. There has been some longish time added on. I haven't watched tons of live games either, really. FA Cup certainly had some time added on in games, so there's nothing official that I've seen about it.
I watched one live game, and that was a friendly, and it was mostly great. But yeah, no, it didn't have crazy amount. It had like 2 minutes at the end of the end of the game.
I mean, hopefully it's something that they can look at. Sam Brown YVR on Twitter says, the only football rule change I would entertain, but not discussed by us last week, is a change in the size to the penalty box. Make it considerably smaller, maybe 12 yards, maybe a semicircle instead of a box. But he doesn't explain why.
He wants less penalties?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Yeah, Sam, maybe expand on that a little bit as to why. And then Mike Mead, the big country music fan from up in Whistler, says that he would consider sin bins and kick-ins in terms of the rule changes, but he posed something else that we were talking about last week, which we're going to come to in a sec as well. We were talking about the player Tai Baribo that has been linked with the Whitecaps. So he wants to know just your thoughts on the Austrian Bundesliga, like in terms of quality, comparability to MLS.
Yeah, it's not obviously not one of the higher ranked European leagues, right? Dead Bull, the OG Dead Bull, has come out of there in the last few years and made some noise in the Champions League. But the overall level of the league is not like super high, I would say. Comparable to MLS, that's hard to say because they don't have like big DPs on most teams and whatever. I do know there's a number of Bundesliga teams, including Bayern, who have been using it in more recent years, more so, to loan their young players that they don't want to lose, but they want to develop. So
rather than drop it down to like third or fourth tier in Germany, they send them to Austria. Interesting.
Instead of playing on their second team in the third or fourth division, they send them to Austria. So like Bayern has I think it's like 3 players on loan at Klagenfurt or whatever right now in the Austrian Bundesliga. Of players that they're hoping will develop and will push on. So yeah, the level, I would say it's below MLS, but that doesn't mean that this player couldn't come to MLS and make an impact, right? Especially with the rate at which he was scoring and that form that he's been in.
As with all players as well, it depends who you have around him. If you're getting things put on a plate, it's a lot easier to put the ball in the back of the net as well.
Yeah, but I would say that the culture of the Austrian Bundesliga is good. There's some really great supporter culture there with, great displays and great atmospheres in the grounds, and yeah.
Never seen a game there. Only been to Austria on a day trip to Innsbruck and loved the place. It was very nice. That brings us on now to our Whitecaps news of the week, of which there isn't a lot, but we'll talk a little bit MLS as well. The big news is the Whitecaps, they're off to sunny Spain, Viva Espana, etc., etc. And they're going to have their first pre-season game on Wednesday. They're playing the Beef Patties, which I believe is the nickname of Hamburger SV.
It's the dinosaurs.
Oh, yes, we covered that last week.
Or just online, just spell Ha as foul with a $sign instead of the S. That's how it's most commonly referred to.
To me, they'll just always be Hamburg, so that's fine. Play them on Wednesday, and apparently the game is going to be streamed on Sky Sports News, which I don't know if that's just in Germany or in the UK as well, but I was like, But
how is it going to be accessible to people in North America?
I don't know. Glass City just tweeted an article today saying that game was going to get streamed. It was in German, so I'm assuming it's German Sky Sports News. So it is a paid channel, so it's not something that folk are going to stumble across. But I would hope that means the Whitecaps can get a feed at least on their website or something for folk here to watch it. I believe it's a 6 a.m. start there, so I'll skip that one. Didn't get up at that time for the World Cup game, so I'm going to get up for a Whitecaps pre-season friendly.
I might have an interesting meeting on Wednesday morning. Remind me, I'll tell you later.
Okay. They've added a second game now though as well. Talking of Austrian Bundesliga sides, Wolfsberger on Saturday the 21st. And if you think Wolfsberger, where have I heard that name before? On last week's podcast, where we were talking about the Whitecaps being linked with the Israeli striker Tai Baribo. He plays for Wolfsberger. Now the Whitecaps are playing Wolfsberger. Surely too much of a coincidence there, Zach. It's like, you're going to sign for us, or we're going to do a crunching tackle on you in this game. You're going to be out for the rest of the season.
No, but that'd be weird if he plays, if the deal's not done before then, kind of thing, right? Like if you
plays the first half for Wolfsberger, signs the contract at halftime, switches to the Whitecaps in the second half.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you don't want maybe my perspective is too far-fetched, but I don't know.
I wouldn't want him playing against the Whitecaps if he's about to join the Whitecaps. If that's what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, remember, for example, the whole Matthias Laba debacle, right? Like, if you're going to sign a player, you don't want him playing for someone else and then getting injured, right? Like, because then you're not going to do the deal, or you lose. I don't know.
Yeah. Likewise,
if he's going to get injured, it needs to be asshole.
Yeah, he could just be wearing a different coloured strip from everyone else like they do at training. This is the guy you're not allowed to go anywhere near. He can pass the ball to either team.
Yeah, he can score for either team. It's more of a training drill than an actual friendly.
Yeah. So that should be an interesting one. So we were wondering if they were going to play more than one game. So they are.
Yeah, they had to play more than one game going all that distance.
We were talking before we started recording. There hasn't been a lot of stuff really come out from Spain. There's been a few things on Twitter, a few little training videos, and it seems quite nice weather, high teens.
Is there much on the website? I haven't been on the website.
I don't think so. I haven't been on the website either. I just have seen a few videos on Twitter. There's not really much, to be fair, to write about just now. I mean, the news that folk are talking about is they do have a player in the camp training with them, not necessarily trialling with them, and that is Salif Sane, a Senegalese international centre-back. He's 32 years old. He's been a free agent since this summer. Yeah. Spent nearly a decade playing in the Bundesliga, Zach. So you're ideally placed to tell us about his career, which I know has been derailed by injuries of late. He's been with Schalke, which is where Axel Schuster got to know him as well. But before we get your thoughts on him, Gemma from Canadian Press had a chat with Axel this week. So she asked him about Sane, and what Axel basically said was, and this is exact quote here, He gets a chance to train with us here on a very high level, and he's used here like a full squad player. So he can test himself out, his body out. Is his body ready after all those injuries to tolerate such a load? And the load in camp is very high. For us, it's great to have such a player who is, by his normal potential, far better than the players that we are used to having in our squad. A damning indictment, I would say there. I would maybe have picked those words a little bit better. He has a very high quality that you would only see in our league as a DP. And his status with the Whitecaps, Schuster said, is day-to-day. I mean, it sounds like it's maybe not a player that they're looking at bringing in. It's like he'll help them get their players fit, maybe up to a good level defensively. They get him fit. If there's no interest, maybe even by the summer, they could look at him. But it does sound like if he was brought in here, it would have to be as a DP.
Yeah, and I don't think you want a 32-year-old Salif Sane as a designated player. He's a beast of a player. Like, he is a huge center back.
I would take him then.
I've seen him play for Schalke, but I don't like. So he's like the size of Kendall Waston, but he's much slower than Kendall Waston, if my memory is correct. Oh. My memory could be wrong.
And Kendall was not the quickest.
No, but Kendall was not bad at in a.
The injury side of it would concern me. Playing
that's the thing. He's had injuries.
Surface.
He also was a part of some really horrible Schalke teams. But before that, he played for Hanover too. So I've seen him play for Hanover, I'm pretty sure, and definitely have seen him play a bunch for Schalke. And I mean, if injuries aren't an issue, I think he totally could be a great addition for Vancouver if it were to pan out that way. But I like not on crazy money. Maybe a 10 player to stretch, but I don't know that he's even worth that. Now I don't know what his value would be, but yeah, obviously he's still without a club, which says a lot. So I think it's great. I think Axel's right. It's great for him personally to have the opportunity to train with a team like this. And it's good for the Whitecaps, whether they choose to sign him or he just provides a good level of competition in training for the rest of the squad. So it's like you said, it's a win-win.
I mean, what if they offered him a 6-month deal to the summer? Then he could see how he was here, and then
that would make more sense.
We would have the option to keep him here, or if he wants to go back to Europe, maybe get a bit of money or something for him, or sign him for a year and say, look, in the summer, if you've got options, we'll let you go.
Yeah.
But my worry would be that you get him here, he does well, and then he goes, and right away you've disrupted your backline at the most crucial part of the season.
Yeah. But yeah, that's true.
He could fair. Come here and struggle in the turf and get injured again.
Yeah.
But then you've also then the risk that you've tied money up in that case.
Yeah. Yeah. For right now, I think Axel's bang on in terms of this is a win-win for both sides, and if things develop one way or another, maybe they each help each other out. You know, who knows?
I mean, if he was to come in, it would spell the end of Ranko, you've got to say as well.
I guess
just called up a Serbia as well for their game against the US, as has Julian Gresso, actually. Congratulations to Julian, just become a US citizen and already got a call-up for this admittedly MLS-based squad.
Wait, are we talking
for the January camp?
Are we talking about the US squad in this episode or not?
No, I still haven't done that extra podcast yet. Yeah. There's so many things I've planned to do this year, and I've been playing about with my emulation retro console and getting all my arcade games set up and my television and my Atari games and so I've been pissing away time in that.
So the bottom line with Salif Sane is 30 plus games for Senegal is nothing to laugh at.
Yeah.
And my only concerns would be 1, injuries, and 2, if my memory's right, pace. But he if he did come to Vancouver, he could be a great player for them.
Exciting. So we'll keep our ear to the ground in that. I mean, another centre back from closer to home that could be on the offer. I'd written in the notes chopping block, but that's not the That's not the phrase really, but he could be up in the air like Kamal Miller at Montreal.
But there's no way he's staying in MLS, is there?
I would think if Montreal are looking to move him, he's going to look overseas now.
Yeah.
They're entertaining offers for Kamal Miller, according to Christian Dyer, which is a bit surprising, I've got to say. I know, like Eve and the guys on the Ball is Round podcast, so high on Kamal Miller and what he brought to that back line. He was acquired in 2021, I think it was, for $275,000 in allocation money, and they gave up their first round pick as well. So, I mean, if he does move on, it's going to be a big profit there. But, I mean, he would be a great addition. But, yes, surely he's going to want to move out with the league now.
Yeah.
Are you surprised Montreal don't want to keep him?
No, I don't think it's they don't want to keep him. I think they know that this is the best time to move him.
To cash in on him.
Yeah, and yeah, he must want to go.
Well, I mean, a January transfer window in England, I don't know what it is for the rest of Europe as well. So, I mean, it's maybe a short window. Officially, the transfer window for MLS doesn't actually open till the end of this month for bringing players in as well. Because I know a lot of folk have been concerned, where's all the additions and stuff? So, I mean, the transfer window isn't officially open, and I know other clubs have been doing business. I mean, another player that seems on his way out of Montreal, Kei Kamara. He's asked for a trade.
It doesn't seem like it. He doesn't want to be there.
Well, yeah, but Montreal haven't said that they're going to let him go. Montreal seem very pissed off. In their reaction, they had a press conference for the local media there to chat about a number of things. That was one of them. They're spinning it as Kai went home to Africa, said that he wasn't well, got a doctor's note that he couldn't make camp, and then served him with, I don't want to be here, it's not been a good off-season for me mentally, I want to move on. Lots of rumours swirling that he wants to link up with Wilfried Nancy in Columbus. The Columbus fans, not so welcoming of him back for what would be a third stint there, and a few of them, like when he was here, when Columbus were looking to get moved to Austin, Haar had actually asked him about that. And he said something, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but only a little bit. If I was Commissioner Garber, I'd for sure move them to Austin, which did not endear him to the Columbus fans. So a lot of them don't want him back in Columbus. But it does look like he's on his way out of Montreal. Would you take him back here? Ignore how he maybe left. Would you take him back here?
You can't have enough Kei Kamara in your life.
I agree.
I think the fans here should welcome him back with open arms if he chose to come here.
9 goals and 7 assists last year for Montreal, where he was mainly off the bench, but then basically cemented himself as a starter at times down the stretch. Now, the reason I said forget about how he moved on here, there's been a lot of things that we've heard as to how he moved out of Vancouver. Now, he was offered a deal that he thought was not worth what he was worth. So Mark DeSantis basically didn't want him as a Whitecaps player.
Yeah.
And my understanding is the Whitecaps then made him an offer that they knew he was never going to take.
Exactly.
That's come out from Kai's camp and chatting to him down the road. So whether he would trust the Whitecaps, whether he's at a stage now of he'll go anywhere that's going to offer him a decent deal. Would the Whitecaps offer him a decent deal? He seems like this big striker that's got experience and could put the ball in the back of the net that we're crying out for. It's just, it would need to work in a 2-striker system, I feel, but maybe not.
Which I think he can.
Yeah. I don't know whether the Whitecaps would operate in a 2-striker system is more what I was meaning, because, very fluid, as we talked about in the last show.
Right.
So a few interesting things to keep our eye on.
It would be, I think it would be. Obviously, it's a very short-term solution for up top.
Yes.
Or sorry, you think, because you got to figure at some point he's not going to be able to keep having seasons like he did last year.
Yeah.
And like you did when
oh, well, you know it would be when he comes back to Vancouver, because that's the story for all strikers when they come to Vancouver.
Yeah, but it could have been like that for the first time he came here and it wasn't.
Yeah,
so.
that is very true. I loved him here. He was always a great guy to speak to as well, and great on the pitch. No Whitecaps interviews in this show. As I said, we're mostly focusing on the CPL and the rest of it. We'll have a few. Haven't been able to nail down times to get the ones that I'm looking to get done yet with them being over in Spain, but we should hopefully get those done this week. Last thing, just a couple of things on Don Garber. I had the misfortune of being on, I was going to say the media call. I watched the press conference on YouTube, so I wasn't, anyone could have been on it really. For the new Apple, they announced the announcers this week. Right. There's going to be over 100 announcers.
How come you weren't in that group?
Well,
you're going to be in that group.
I think any chance of me being in the group with what I'm about to say now is probably out the window anyway. Sit and listening to it. If you haven't, you can watch it on YouTube. It started 15-20 minutes late as well, which wasn't a great sign, and there's a couple of hot mic incidents as well, which bodes well for the future. But I'm stunned that some people like Taylor Twellman and a couple of the others, I don't know how they were able to talk and praise Apple so much, because they were clearly filleting them at the same time. So, I mean, that must have been a very difficult thing to do. My God, Apple's the best thing since sliced bread. Once I got my Apple iPhone, all the things I can do, and my camera on my iPhone, and iPhone this, and Apple this. I was like, oh, geez, man. Is this what it's going to be like for the whole year?
Apple TV, I mean, it did bring the world Ted Lasso. Or the Ted Lasso show, I guess, not the inaugural Ted Lasso sketches, but no, I didn't watch it, so I can't comment on how
it was really over the
how
top.
they were praising Apple, but that's not. I mean, they're praising their employer, Michael. That's not.
Yeah, Bradley Wright Phillips was going on about New York Red Bulls, and Sasha Kljestan was there and stuff like that. And one of the hot mic things at the end was, I don't know if it was Don or the Apple guy, but I think it was Don had said, a bit too much Red Bull stuff in there for my liking. And then the feed cuts. So I don't know if that's still up. I haven't checked, but it's right at the end. It's gone dark, and you just hear this hot mic.
That is glorious.
There was another hot mic bit where it was one of the Hispanic commentators, and I think it's Don again, leans into the other guy and goes, "He's going to be our star in this. You can just tell."
Oh my.
Pressure on him right away. But the other Don Garber thing, I just want to ended this part up. Don Garber was in Vancouver on Friday.
Why was he in Vancouver?
Why? Well, we don't know. But I want to end this.
If anyone knows, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay, are we going to go back and forth on this?
Yeah, let's do that. So Glass City had tweeted out, "What's Garber doing in Vancouver? Wrong answers only." And like, honestly, this Twitter thread is just gold.
Yeah.
So nothing to do with us. We just thought this was hilarious, and well done for
funny.
Glass City and getting this, and everyone else that left the answers. There are some tremendous ones in here. Let's just rattle through some of these. If there's any that we're reading that you don't think's funny, we can skip them. But so, what is Don Garber doing in Vancouver? Greg Ollison, actively helping the Whitecaps organisation.
Steve, unbolting the bike rack that accosted Nigel Coker so that fanatics don't set up a shrine.
Try not to laugh when you read it. It's hard to understand.
I'm sorry.
Smoke City, trying to launder unspent GAM in Vancouver real estate.
Wait, is your order different than mine?
I think my order might be different from yours somehow.
Okay, the One Wolf. They need extra hands to use...
You're laughing again as you read it. Sorry. It doesn't work.
They need extra hands to use Sharpies to put new sponsor on kit.
CMNT Domestic, picking up his thank you card from John Herdman for all his help getting Canada to the World Cup.
Wings Digitalism, checking out that new Gastown Stadium location.
Johnny Monster, Greg Anderson signed him by mistake. Thought you'd like that.
Gotta love the monster. Okay. Rob Renfrew telling Kerfoot to take it down a notch from all the social media stuff he's doing.
Jared MLS All-Star Game, for sure. Can't wait. Now, in all seriousness with that, I've asked Garber about that, and the Whitecaps have an All-Star Game whenever they want it. They've just to say to MLS, we want to host it this year, and they'll get to host it. Just taking the mood down from comedy to serious there.
Yeah, okay, whatever. We won't talk about that. Okay. Vancouver Whitecaps announcing a second MLS franchise in Vancouver, the Vancouver 86ers.
I think we have completely different ones here, which is good. City of Losers 604, looking after Russell James Tybert's houseplants whilst he's in Spain.
Oh, that's so good. Walter Sue, or Walter Siu, announcing the Caps was bought by someone that actually cares.
Hopefully it's not Aquilini. I've been following some of the Canuck stuff off late. Everyday Mister, moving the organisation to Albuquerque. Hot dog.
Is that the Simpsons one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the song wasn't. The song was by Prefab Sprite.
Brian giving us Garber bucks on the sly.
I don't think you read this one. Atomic FC announcing Vancouver Whitecaps are getting renamed to Langley Whitecaps. Do you know, see when you Google Vancouver FC, and we'll come to them shortly, Vancouver Whitecaps comes up first. Likewise, when you Google CPL, it comes up Caribbean Premier League. So they need to do a little bit of work in that.
Yeah.
I'll do this one while you're looking. Gavin Johnston hanging tough with Stevie Nash.
Nice. Craig Class pleading with the Caps not to go with Saks underwear as their new kit sponsor.
Carlos A. He was arranging the sale of the Whitecaps to a US bidder. Oh wait, you said wrong answers only.
Michael Phillips making sure Whitecaps FC sign a sponsor in time to print the shirts before the League Cup starts.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they wear for these friendlies that's coming up, whether it's just taped over jerseys or what. Now, Thomas Hewitt says, telling EA Vancouver to make MLS player ratings higher. Hold up, that might actually be it. Funny he should mention that, because after the show last week, I thought, do you know what would be an interesting shirt sponsor? EA Sports.
That would be a great one, although, it'd be great regardless. It's weird. Not weird. It's actually might be the ideal time for them.
Yeah, because they've lost the FIFA rights.
Exactly, because their new game is just going to be called football whatever. So maybe it would be a good time for them to get that out there in a way like this. I think
it would be fantastic. It would be some shirt sales as well. That could be interesting. Football Manager is another one. I know, like they've sponsored Wimbledon in the past, and like something like that. You want something like I've spoken before. I've bought shirts partly because of the sponsor. Sometimes I collect shirts that are sponsored by bands. So, I've just thought of the ideal band that could sponsor the shirts. Our good friend Kunt.
No, I don't think so. Okay, I think we've run into each other because I think you started from the bottom and I started at the top.
Well, I started from what was the top in mine, but yeah.
Because I've run into a bunch of yours now.
Oh yeah, I've now got yours. Peter Johnson says, clarifying the salary rules. Yes, please, that would be nice.
Did you read Jody Dubik's leading a team of MLS execs to review Whitecaps front office to learn best practices from a leading organization to be shared with the franchises entering the league?
Tybert fan says, negotiating BC Ferries to be the new corporate sponsor. That would be horrible.
Noel Allen, he does not go to the regular season, much like the Whitecaps fans, unless you are giving $20,000 worth of stuff.
We'll just read a couple more now. I've run into some of yours. Oh yeah, Kevin, I like this one because it just says bird spotting. Because if anyone didn't see Garber's thing, the initial message from him, he's obviously down at Canada Place and it's just a seagull. And it says, not so beautiful here in Vancouver. Even this guy wanted to get out of the rain. And it's a very wet seagull. A good photo though, so maybe he is. Maybe he's into ornithology. Joel
Prosser just tweeted out the GIF from Avengers Endgame. Don't.
Oh, so that's what that was
Hawkeye
from.
says don't. And Black Widow says, don't what? And he says, don't give me hope.
There's tons more here, so I'm only going to. I think let's just do one more, unless there's anything else that grabs you.
I got one last one.
Okay, you do this then.
JP Getchapol making Axel hire an actual coach.
Oh, you ended on a negative.
Sorry, that was you. Okay, you do a better one.
Okay, this isn't much more positive, but it made me laugh. TB Head Kawid. I have no idea what this might say. Congratulating the Whitecaps on becoming a top 25 club. In MLS, they are. You can't argue with facts.
I think the quote was top 25 in the world, though.
I was missing that. Hey, look, he's just got an MBE or something, so he knows what he was talking about.
Who does?
Thingy Bob, Brighton guy.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
Byrne. No, yeah, no.
Not
that's
Byrne.
Paul Byrne. Barber.
Who? Barber, yeah. Paul Barber. He got an MBE, I believe, or an OBE, but I think it was an MBE. Look how well Brighton's doing. Anyway, yeah, let us know why you think Don Garber might have been in Vancouver, just to steal that from Glass City. I mean, genuinely, it is a puzzle. Maybe he's just going around all the clubs just now, just speaking to the executives, but it would be nice if it was because they've decided to have the Leagues Cup final here or something. Because we're known for our strong Mexican contingent in the city. Maybe it's the only place that they could have it that they're not going to have bags of piss thrown at the pitch.
Do they do that when the games are in the States much?
I don't know. I do, but that's just...
I don't know.
I don't like going to the toilet if I'm missing the game. Anyway.
I remember dudes used to tell me about their experiences on the cop at Anfield, where sometimes
pissing in pockets down the back of the leg.
Yeah, but it was they would aim for, like, if someone put a rolled up program in their back pocket, they would just.
It was like that, like Parkhead and Ibrox at Hampden and stuff as well.
That's horrendous.
Yeah. Oh, we're scum. Us folk from the UK. Anyway, that is it for the first part of the show. That's it for the MLS chat. We're turning our attention next to the Canadian Premier League in the next few parts. We'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Tommy Wilden Jr. and you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
He blamed his fiancée when he could be. The doctor said no drink for 17 weeks. He wants to go out but he has to stay home. Sit in and watch colour TV on his own. He's just a stereotype. He drinks his age in pints. He drives home pissed at night and he listens to his stereo. The tablets are finished, the cure is complete. He hasn't had a drink now for 17 weeks. 17 pints, tonight is the night. It goes straight to his head, he ends up in a fight. The police chase him home through the dark rainy night. Fluorescent jam sandwich with flashing blue light. His mum's waiting up, she hopes he's alright, but he's wrapped round a lamppost on Saturday night.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part is our Artist of the Month. All month long for January here at AFTN, we're paying tribute to Terry Hall, that sadly passed away just before Christmas, former lead singer of The Specials and a number of other bands, and we're playing songs that encompass his whole career this month to kick off all the parts. I'm doing that. He was a very special person to me, and his music was just part of my childhood, growing up so much. That was a song from The Specials, taken from their second album, More Specials, in 1980, and that was Stereotypes. So we're turning our attention now to the Canadian Premier League, and in this part we're going to do a quick CPL year in review, look at the demise of FC Edmonton, and look at the way ahead, some of the expansion rumours and stuff that has been going on just now. For the year in review, we're not going to go into it too thoroughly. I'll be honest. Whenever we do CPL themed shows, they do get less listeners than the non-ones. That's why I had the MLS stuff at the part as well. I'd say it's like 20 to 25% less that we kind of get in downloads and listens, really, when we have a CPL focus show, which is partly understandable, but also partly concerning.
But I think it'll change just
because we want to cover the league, but at some point, if folk are switching off and not wanting to hear that, it's something we might have to look at. But we do want to cover all aspects of the game, particularly in BC and across Canada. But yep, the 2022 CPL season, the first proper season really that was played since the very first one. Which is crazy. You're in year 4, and they finally got some coast-to-coast games. COVID restrictions were lifted, but we'll split this into 2 parts, the regular season and the playoffs. And, I mean, the regular season, it was exciting to the end in terms of the positioning of the top 4. But the top 4 was pretty much cut and dried, quite a bit to go before the end of the season, which is one of the bad things about the 4-4 split, because you had Valor in 5th, York in 6th, Halifax in 7th, and Edmonton in 8th. Some of those were cut adrift sooner than others, but they ended the season with very little really to play for, apart from maybe coaches looking at players for bringing back next year or scouting to bring into them for next year. You had the top 4 really that kind of ran away with it, but their positions just changed so much over the year. And it ended up with Pacific in 4th on 46 points from the 28 games. 1 point better in 3rd were Calgary in 47 points. And then on the same points, in 2nd were Forge, that had the way better goal difference, plus 22 to Cavalry's plus 6. And Pacific were only plus 3, if we're looking at that. And then leading the way on 49 points was Atletico Ottawa, winning the regular season for the first time. A record of 13 wins, 10 draws, and just 5 defeats over the course of the season. If they'd been able to turn some of those draws into wins, they'd have won that regular season at a canter. But I mean, looking at the regular season, Zach, it was enjoyable, but the way that the split worked out, you've got to try and, I feel, have something for these clubs that get cut adrift a little bit early. Just keep that interest going in the fan base. Yeah.
It's not yet relegation, but hopefully one day.
Yeah, I was going to say FCM.
I mean, I guess they did start having a relegation.
Yeah, they did. They went down. The up-and-comers from Langley have taken their place. We'll come to that shortly. But, I mean, were you surprised? Like Valor?
Surprised, yeah, by Atletico Ottawa. I mean, they were not.
I didn't even think. I thought Valor would make the playoffs at the expense of Ottawa. I thought Forge, Cavalry, and Pacific would make it.
I thought one of Valor or York might get in. Yeah,
York, of course, had made the playoffs the season before, and then they finished 6th this year with Martin Nash's first season in charge. A baptism of fire in a number of ways.
And they had what for them will be their best ever cup run to the semifinals of the Voyageurs Cup.
Yes, true. So there was that as well. Pacific, I mean, their season, they were involved obviously in the CONCACAF League. I keep calling it the Champions League, but it's just CONCACAF League. And that hit them a little bit. And ultimately, I mean, they led the way for a spell, then they had a bad spell, and then they picked it up a little bit. But, I mean, that front, those top 4 could have been in any order. And we'll come to the playoffs.
Yeah, if you're a Pacific fan, you're definitely different. I think disappointed, not getting back to the final, but also I think in not coming first in the league, because you felt, I don't know if it was you, Michael, but I felt there was at least once or twice where they had gotten to the summit, and you thought, okay, now they're going to hold it.
Yeah,
and then they bundled it.
Yeah, I mean the playoffs. It was first v fourth, second v third, and we're back to a 2-legged playoff, which I was quite pleased by. I quite like having the one-legged final, but I quite liked having the two-legged semis.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. I mean, it's helpful in terms of the gate for both teams, and it's.
I don't know, when you see some of the attendances, I was just looking at these attendances just now.
No, they weren't great, I don't think.
No, I mean, Pacific played Ottawa, and it was 2 late goals in the first leg that was their undoing. Tabla in the 79th, Zach Verhoeven coming back to haunt them 5 minutes into stoppage time, giving Ottawa the 2-0 win. It was over by then, wasn't it?
Let's not talk about that, please.
Yeah, I jest, we won't go into that. But they actually took the lead in the second leg in Ottawa. Miller Giguere, I always buried that name, taking the lead in the 23rd minute before Shaw got the goal that saw Ottawa over the line with 7 minutes to go. Now, the attendance in Langley in that first leg, just under 3,800.
You mean Langford?
Oh, yes. I'm going to get... this is going to be... I'm going... I've already done this when I was recording some other stuff. Yes, in Langford... The Lang Derby, that's what we're going for. It was just under 3,800. There was even less of them in Langley watching the game, I believe. But I was disappointed with that, though. It's just disappointing. It's a Saturday and 4 o'clock kickoff, and that's all you're drawing for a semi-final.
Yeah. I think partly because I think part of the reason, right, was because their positioning in the league table wasn't determined till was it even the last day, I think, or was it the second last match day?
I thought it was near the end. Penultimate, yeah.
Yeah, and so it felt like they didn't have the quite the window to sell, but you still would expect, based on being the champions and having aside from the Voyageurs Cup, having a season with a lot of bright spots on it, both in the league and in the CONCACAF league, that they would have drawn more for that game.
Ottawa actually drew nearly 8,500 for the second leg, so that was good for them. The other semi-final, the old foes, Cavalry and Forge. Did they play in
Langley, their game?
Oh, yeah, they were playing in Langley as well. They'd be as well to. They only drew just over 3,000 for it, which Cavalry's numbers have definitely dipped. But that was a good game. Klomp opened the score for the Cavs in the first half, just before halftime. Forge tied it up just after. And then Forge won the second leg 2-1, which again was made interesting with Bevan scoring with 12 minutes to go. Mm-hmm. That set up an Ottawa Forge final. And then the dynasty, 3 times in 4 years. Hojapur again, the second straight championship game he scored. Different team this time. And
wasn't it a near post header on a corner again?
I can't even remember. I think it was very, very similar. I remember us talking about it.
I remember deja vu, a lot of deja vu.
But it was a 2-0 win for Forge. They're the champs once again. Great for Forge. Full credit to what Bobby's done there. It's great in one sense to have that dynasty. It's not great for the league if it's like, Forge have won again.
I think it's okay. We talked about this at the time. I believe it's very similar to DC United, right, in MLS. It's not a bad thing. If Forge win maybe 9 out of 10, okay, maybe then you could, or 6 out of 7 or whatever. Maybe then it's kind of discouraging, but at such an early stage of a league like this. But I think 3 out of 4 having a dynasty like that doesn't have to be seen as a negative.
No,
everyone knows the standard.
If they win another
right?
3 out of 4, though, it's no.
I guess actually the caveat to that is the setup of the league and knowing that the people who started the league is they're the ones who are winning, right? Like,
yes,
Bob Young, Scott, there is that is different than other leagues. And I know I'm my first love in club football is a team that has won their league the last 10 years on the trot. So I'm not opposed to the cream rising to the top and staying there, but yeah, this league is a little bit different.
I thought for a bit of fun we would look at the 8 teams and we would kind of sum up their season in 1 to 3 words. So let's start at the bottom. FC Edmonton. Dead and buried. That'll be my 3 words for them.
Yeah, my one word was relegation.
Yeah. Halifax Wanderers. I'd just go with the one. I think disappointing. They just haven't built on what looked like they had in year 2.
Into the wilderness. That was my 3 words.
I like that.
The big thing for them is, right, they now moved on from Stephen Hart, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's kind of
gonna speak to their new head coach, who I know a little bit from his time at Senegal. So we'll have him on a show coming up in the weeks to come.
Yeah. So for them, again, not going too deep, but for them, it's kind of a bit of an 4 years. It's the end of an era with moving on from Stephen Hart. So the on field will for them will hopefully have a breath of fresh air, and they can move forward and make progress and all that kind of stuff. The thing they don't need to change, and they don't want to change, they just want it to keep getting better, is that they have created, that they work hard at the best atmosphere in the whole league, and the best stadium and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it might not be the best stadium, but you know what I mean, like stadium. No,
I love it. I have to get to a game there at some point. York United, I would go work to do.
Mine was, I kind of said before, I was just going to say great cup run.
That's fair. Valor, agonizingly close, because I feel they're agonizingly close to getting into that top 4, and they've just been undone the last couple of seasons.
I spent some time on my travels this year with some people from Winnipeg, and yeah, I feel really bad for them. I feel like they all long to not be owned by the Winnipeg CFL side.
That's not going to happen.
No, well, not anytime soon, but it could happen. I have heard people say it's not an open secret that if anyone wanted to go into Winnipeg and invest in the club, they could own it. But that's probably harder said than done, or easier said than done, I should say. So yeah, 3 words for them. I was going to say more disappointment for Valor.
That's fair.
More disappointment.
For Pacific, striking issues illuminated, because they never replaced that striker in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
And that was their downfall, really.
Honestly, my word for them was actually transition, because it was a season where they transitioned away from they sort of have a model, which I think you'll see in Langley, where they want to bring in players for like 3 years, and if either move them on and make money off them like they did with some of those players, or just move on from them because they're not developing enough and they're not good enough and whatever. So for me, it was Pacific, even though they were the holders, and there'll be the disappointment around not doing better or winning something in the 4th year. I think it was a year of transition for them, and the transition didn't go particularly well. So it feels like this season is going to be another year of transition, especially just the off-field stuff.
Well, I mean, I think they're transitioning to not having a squad for.
No, they have it. They have a squad. Plus, they got Ngaro. He's like a whole squad by himself.
Oh, that's true. Cavalry, another disappointing failure.
Yeah, see, for me, I was just the 3 words. The Cavs keep marching. Like, I know they haven't been able to get the titles they want, but they are still consistently like one of, if not the best teams in this league. Like, I know we talk about the Forge dynasty, but they have not a dynasty because they have no silverware, but they are, to me, like, they are. I know the off-field, like the support in the community isn't at the level it should be. They have some great supporters there.
It's really dipped,
but they're on field. They're so good. Like, I think if you had Tommy Wheeldon and the players he's had, I think if you aside taking Forge out of the equation, because maybe they're a mix of both of these things. But if you had Tommy Wilden as a coach and the players he's had mixed with the atmosphere in Halifax, that's the best of the CPL outside of Forge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over the 4 years,
I'd say so. Yeah.
So they to me, again, aside from Forge, they're like the most consistently quality side in the league, and I know it's a results-based business and they haven't got the silverware and whatever.
Yeah, I worried for Tommy. I've got to say, I'm a little surprised he's still there. I'm glad he's still there, but I thought, will they possibly pull the plug on him now? But I think he has to get something this year. Maybe not, but
I don't know. I mean, for him personally, I hope he does.
Yeah.
Because I think he is great at what he does, and he has worked so hard at it, and we know he's continuing to work hard at it. But yeah,
Ottawa, the runners-up, surprise packages.
I was gonna say, this is maybe harsh, but they went from 8th, right?
Yeah,
the previous year. Yeah, I was gonna say Resurrection.
Oh, so I'm gonna say 0 to Hero.
I know they're 0 to Hero is another great one. Yeah. They were really poor the year before, and so to go all the way to win the league standings, I think is tremendous for them.
And Forge, one word for me:
dynasty.
Well, I see dynasty.
Oh. You also, what are you having for dinner?
Baked potato.
Oh, okay, that's good. I don't say potato, but I thought maybe you might say that.
No. Of course, FC Edmonton are no more. And Zach,
whoa! They're not no more. They're
on hiatus. Yes. Whether they come back though as FC Edmonton, though, is another question.
I think if you want, they've gone the way of the goats. That's how the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and they didn't come back.
Sure, they did.
They got their
LAFC
necks slaughtered. Yeah, but they didn't come back as the goats.
That's the same organization, dude.
Now, you went to Edmonton in the summer. Got us some great audio that we never used because you wanted to write your article first that you never wrote.
I'm so sorry. I
might bring it out as an extra podcast just so folk can hear it now.
We absolutely should.
Okay, well, we'll do that then. We won't talk tons about it here.
No.
So subscribe to the extra podcast and you get that. But it was announced in late November by the Commissioner, Martin Noonan. I mean, we spoke to him a couple of weeks before when Harnby ambushed him at the Vancouver FC event to ask him about it, and he said a decision would have to be made soon. It was made, and basically the team has gone on hiatus officially for 2023. In the official release, he said, I made it clear since I became Commissioner that we needed certain conditions in each of our markets for our clubs to be successful on and off the field. After careful review, these conditions simply didn't exist at FC Edmonton, consistently resulting in the smallest league average attendance, lowest revenue, and poor performance in the standings, despite incremental league investment. The die-hard supporters and soccer community of Edmonton deserve better. The CPL are actively engaged in discussions with who they say is world-class ownership groups about bringing a new team to Edmonton with more favourable conditions, or want to establish more favourable conditions in the market. They basically said that Clark Stadium is not fit for purpose as well. I mean, Edmonton is too big a city with too big a rich soccer history not to have a team in the CPL, I feel. But can they support it? Is it sustainable? If they get a winning team on the pitch, will the fans come out?
Talk about, maybe when we do that extra podcast, we can talk about all the issues, but there's a tremendous amount that needs to be done there. You need to invest in this, like you need to rebuild a football club there. Like that's the bottom line. From a stadium to connections into the community to actual marketing. There's lots that needs to be done to make a club successful in Edmonton that was not done to it, not done to to the right level.
Yeah,
under the FATs. So
I mean, I feel so much for Alan Koch putting through that. I mean, to do what he did, to get the wins that he got, and with the makeshift squad, and I mean, it's tough. He's moving, if folk don't know, to New Zealand. He's going to be the director of a soccer academy down there. So great for for Alan. He's always looking for these new opportunities. I mean, Edmonton could bounce back in 2024 if they get a proper investment, proper owners that the league are looking for. We know that Vancouver FC are coming into 2023 to take their place. It'll be an 8-team league. We'll talk about Vancouver FC in the next part.
Which that's the if you could say the one positive thing for the league itself is they're not going to another awkward, a team that has a bye this week or that week or whatever. And that, I think we've seen in North America that you can. I think a couple examples in North America, and obviously we don't want this situation to last as long as either of these did. But you've seen what happened with the Goats, with Chivas USA, going on hiatus and coming back as something more meaningful in the community. And I think you could see that there. And the other thing is, you could say to a different degree, look at MLS in Florida, right? They started in Florida with 2 teams, and then they shut those down. Now they're back with 2 teams. Obviously, many years later, but they're back with 2 teams in Florida, teams and they're doing relatively well. So you kind of. We've seen it happen in North America, where I think as much as we, in the past we've made fun of Edmonton as a city,
but you want them in.
You want them there, right? And so
Cavalry need a rival in the province.
Yeah,
and
totally.
That's how you grow the game, and there needs more teams as well. Like Saskatchewan's got to get this team. I believe the stadium is still open for public discussion. It's been through the first part, and there's more.
Yeah, there's still stuff going on with that. Yeah.
Quebec still needs to get a team. When I spoke to the guys at CS Saint Laurent, they've got their team now in the PLSQ, and they'd love to jump up. And I'm amazed that they're still not in Quebec. Quebec City is just ideal to have a team. So hopefully that's coming soon. From what I've been told by folk in local BC soccer circles, Kelowna looks a shoo-in to be bringing a team in 2024 to be the 3rd team in BC, which would give a little bit of a rivalry to Cavalry as well. You're kind of halfway between Vancouver and Calgary in terms of that. I think that's a great landing spot for the league. There's a big appetite for the game out in the Okanagan. Yeah. There's some great players there as well. And I mean, right now, you've got Thompson Rivers that are the U Sport champions on the men's side as well. So, I mean, that looks like that would be coming. That would make it lopsided. So, whether Edmonton would come in as the 10th team, or do we get a Quebec or a Saskatchewan team in to be the 10th team as well?
Yeah, I mean, that I think that's hopefully part of what they're working at with the league as a whole, is saying, hey, as we bring in teams, we need to bring them in pairs so we can keep an even number. And wherever or however that works best, I hopefully that that's part of what their plan is going forward.
The 2023 CPL season is going to get underway in April. The Canadian Championship's also going to get underway early. It's going to be in April this year as well. I believe the preliminary round / first round games are the week beginning April 10th. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the CPL season starts just before it or just after that. If it's just after it, it's going to be a pretty level playing field if, for example, TSS get Vancouver FC. So we'll see how all that goes. There was meant to be, remember when the league started their first season, they had a pre-season in the Dominican Republic and all the teams went there.
Yeah.
I believe the plans were this year that the teams are all going to go to Madrid, but for whatever reason that seems to have fallen through, so the teams are all kind of left to their own devices at the moment. So we'll see how all that plays out.
Yeah, that'd be nice to do something again like that. It's unfortunate for whatever reason it hasn't worked out this time, but I think there was also, if you remember though, there were some naysayers, for that process in the Dominican. Do you remember? I believe our friend Tommy was not really keen on having a preseason where you're going to be playing all that years.
No, I agree. I don't think it's great. I mean, that's been a big thing. But the thing is, complained about for the Whitecaps. Oh, you're playing the same teams.
No, but the thing, if you went to Madrid, you don't have to play each other in Madrid. There's lots of teams that are close by.
I can't think either who would possibly have been pushing for Madrid. But anyway.
Yeah, who could it have been?
Who? Anyway, that is it for our quick look back at the CPL in 2022 and a quick look ahead to 2023. Of course, the big news for the CPL in 2023 is there's a new team in town, Vancouver FC. And we'll be back chatting about them after this.
Hi, I'm Martin Nash, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's another song from Terry Hall's back catalogue from his band Funboy 3 from 1982, taken from their self-titled debut album. It was the second single released by the band as well. It reached number 4 in the UK charts and number 49 in the US club play charts. That was It Ain't What You Do, It's the Way That You Do It. Which maybe should be the mantra for Vancouver FC going into their inaugural season. Doesn't matter what you do, just get a winning team on the pitch by the end of it and you'll get the bums on the seats. Because they have targeted, Zach, that they want to be competitive. They don't want to be an expansion team. They want to be competitive from the outset. It's been a little bit of a slow build, publicly at least so far. Not a lot of players announced. At the time of recording this, which is Monday the 16th, there's been 6 players signed by Vancouver FC, and they've got their 2 U-Sport draft picks as well. My understanding is there's 11 to 12 players that have signed, so that these will be coming out this week as they announce it. I also believe that training for a lot of these guys has got underway this week as well. The 6 players signed so far: goalkeeper Callum Irvin, we'll talk about him in the next part; defender Khalil John Wentworth; defender Rocco Romeo, the most recent guy that was just announced; midfielder Elliot Simmons; 2 forwards, Mohamedou Kane and Nathaniel St. Louis. Any concerns that this is all there is, or are you still thinking, hey, there's a long way to go? Yeah, there's still 3 months of the season to go. In AFTN we trust.
Yeah, no, I'm not concerned yet. I think, one of the conversations I've had with them is about information and is about news. So I believe that this slow drip, as opposed to turning the hose on full with the player announcements, is helps that there's more things for them to share and talk about. You saw them on their different channels. They're talking about.
It keeps them in the public eye. I guess it's just the fans are impatient. We're impatient.
No, I mean,
media's impatient.
No, but I think it's much.
That's a whole other topic.
It's much better they do it this way as opposed to all dozen at once, and then you're waiting till March for the or February, March for the rest, right?
I've seen a lot of criticism. Oh, we don't know the jerseys yet. We haven't had stadium renderings, and it's just the impatience, which is partly the excitement as well.
The stadium,
you just have to trust that everything is in place.
The stadium thing is a little bit concerning because
they've got the foundations in. People that were out at the recent FVSL, VISL All-Star game took some photos as well.
Yeah,
but
I've heard
you
reports
do
about
wonder.
all that.
But with this weather, is everything going to be up in time for the start of the season? Are we going to see the team on the road for the first few games?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I know I've heard lots of people asking about, when's the schedule coming, or just around the league, not just in this area.
I know you want to kind of plan trips and stuff as well.
Yeah, for me, it would definitely help to plan life to have that schedule.
Yeah, I'd also like the League One BC one to come out as well, because I have to plan like some holidays and amongst commentary and amongst Whitecap stuff.
So last year supposedly it came out end of January, beginning of February, and it's supposed all I've heard is that it should be on course for that as well. So you could see it as early as next week, I think. But don't hold me to that.
Oh, I will hold you to that. But yeah, I mean, it would be good to have that. We're going to sit down with Rob Friend as well, just to chat about it. I'd hope to try and have it for this show, but again, my pissing about on YouTube and with retro game emulators, I've kind of gone behind with what I had planned to do. So we'll have Rob coming up in a future show, just talking about how things are going and various things as well. If we look at the players signed, now obviously Callum Irvin, talk about him in the next part, but I mean that's a great strong start.
Yeah,
he's known here. You know what he can mean to this team, and he's going to have a big part to play on and off the pitch in growing this team in the local community. So we know that's a good addition. A couple of other guys with experience in the CPL. Elliot Simmons was one of the other early announcements. 24-year-old from Luton in England. Has spent time with Halifax in 2019, 3 seasons with Cavalry, and now making the move to Vancouver FC. So 3 CPL sides in the 4 and a bit seasons so far. He's got previous experience as well. Only thing I don't like about him is he came through the MK Dons youth career. So usually those guys are persona non grata to me. But if I can speak to him and he badmouths MK, then that's okay, I'll support him.
Okay.
That's basically how most Wimbledon fans feel. If they disown MK Dons once they've left them, then it's okay.
So will he need security when he does his interview with you then?
Possibly. I joke. He is a good player, but he's a guy that knows the league, and I think this team needs a big splattering of that in there, of guys that do know the league. Only 1 goal in his 4 CPL seasons so far. I know the Halifax fans loved him and they were very disappointed that he moved on from there. But yeah, but are you expecting much from him?
I think that of all these guys they brought in, aside from Callum, like I haven't watched them a lot. Like I haven't, or sorry, not that I haven't paid attention to them as individual players as much, you know. So yeah, no, it's hard to comment. Like it's like when you're looking at a puzzle and you can only see like 5 or 6 pieces or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the puzzle going to be? And you're like, well, you hope it comes together to be something, you know, beautiful or nice or whatever. But time will tell. Yeah. I don't think any of these initial signings that have happened, none of them are like, ones I'm concerned about in a negative way.
Yeah.
And with Callum, you're like excited very excited in a positive way.
I mean, a guy like Mamadou Kane, I'm thinking he's a depth player. He was with York, he was with FC Edmonton. He's been capped under 17 level for Canada. So, I mean, a lot of potential there. He's a 6 foot forward, but he's only 19. So he's maybe one for the future that they're looking at. I guess Rocco Romeo, 22-year-old centre-back, which is their most recent signing, is maybe the most exciting of all those other outfield players. He came through the TFC Academy. He played with TFC 3, TFC 2, went over to Europe to play in the Danish Football League with HP Koga. Re-signed with TFC but didn't actually play for them. Went back over to Denmark, and then he's played for Valor in 2021 and 2022. 4 goals from his 40-odd appearances. As a centre-back, I mean, you're not looking ideally for goals, you're just looking for them to keep the ball out the net. But he's a guy, I was impressed by him with Valor. I think this is a good pickup for them.
I've heard a number of positive things about him from people in Ontario, like even before this, like last year or the year before. So and then I've seen him play a little bit for Valor. Hoping that he can be someone who contributes significantly. Yeah. So again, it's hard to. It's hard to say because what is he going to be? Is he going to be in your mind, Michael? Is he a spot on starter?
I would say so. Yeah. I'll still have to obviously see the rest of the squad, but to me,
exactly. But
I think he's coming as a starter. I think only Irvin and him for me would be the two starters. Maybe Simmons.
Yeah. So at the moment, even if that is the case, I'm like, who's he playing next to? Right? Who's he playing with in the back?
Yeah.
Like,
is it three at the back?
Exactly.
Is it four at the back?
Exactly. So it's like we're looking at a few pieces of a puzzle that it's hard to say how it's all going to fit together.
Yeah, definitely a lot more questions and answers so far on the players coming in, but there is some more to get announced. Hopefully it's a bit more experience and some local guys as well. I know they want to fill it with a smattering, more than a smattering of local talent. The club had trials last week out at Newton Athletic Park in Surrey on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Over 100 players turned up, 100 hopefuls. Some, I think, were being really hopeful compared to others. A kind of mid-30s overweight guy in the middle of the park maybe didn't really have real hopes of getting into the team, but good for him. He's living the dream.
I thought you were talking about me for a second, but one, I wouldn't have been in the middle of the whole park, and two, I'm no longer in my mid-30s.
I think next year, we had a little chat about this before we recorded, AFTN should sponsor a player, pay their fee, $200, nice little money earner for Vancouver FC having all those guys in. But I think we should sponsor a player through the trials, one that we think might get through though, not just a young hopeful, but one of the maybe local VMSL talents or League One guys, and hopefully pay his fee to get to the trials. He gets picked up, gets on the team, we've got all that coverage. That would be the way to go. But there was a lot of standout performers at the trials, and some guys that I saw, Victory Shambushel from UBC certainly stood out. What they did on the final day, they had 4 11v11 games. And from what I was told from some folk that were watching it, 2 of the pitches were the ones to watch, and the other 2 were the guys that probably weren't really going to make it. After every group kind of finished, AFTN Goatby sat down with them and said, "You're all going to get emails. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time this week. You'll either be invited into training camp from Monday this week, you'll be invited back to some future closed trials, or you've reached the end of the road. Thank you. We'll keep an eye on you. Just keep working. We'll maybe see you next year." So there's going to be a lot of obviously disappointed folks, some people that know it. There was players from all across Canada. There was a Belize international as well called Pele, a defender. He actually really stood out for me. I liked a lot look of him. He plays for Cal Poly Pomona in NCAA Division 2. So he was good. A giant Ghanaian centre-back as well that must have been about 8 foot tall. Or he kind of felt that way. So he was good. He was on one of the 2 pitches of the players to watch.
Was that one of the guys who's always messaging, asking to get connected? Do you ever get those messages?
I get a lot of DMs from people that is like, "Oh, can you get us a club?" It's like, no, I'm a podcast. You can play for AFTN if you want, but maybe I'll sponsor one of these guys to come to the trials next year. That would be our story. And then he never shows up on our $200.
It sounds like one of those people who message like, "Hey, can you get me connected?"
Yeah, I think we all get so many of these messages coming through. But Mihai Hodut from UBC also impressed. He wasn't there in the later things. He had to leave. Nima Moenzi from BB5 was a player that stood out. He's a midfielder. And AFTN has actually scouted, not this weekend, but the 3 weekends before, BB5 games. And he's been going around VMSL looking at some of the talent there as well. So that's all good. And a player I'm very high on, lovely guy off the pitch as well, played with Altitude FC last year. He's Brazilian as well. Athos de Sequeira, plays for Langera College. He looked really good, really sharp in the trials, crashed one off the crossbar in the final 11v11 game. And a teammate of his at Langara, Peruvian, David Zagara, was another one that made the final 22. So hopefully look to see them maybe get to the trials as well. It's nice if you've watched guys coming through the local college or League One BC level and they can make the jump to CPL. That's what it's all about, all this pathway.
Yeah.
So got a very quick chat with AFTN Goatby at the end of the trials. We did a walk and talk in the rain as we were walking back to the the dressing room area. So it's just about 3 minutes as we chat about what he thought of the trials, what he's made of his squad build so far, and what fans can maybe expect from players coming down the line. Here's Vancouver FC head coach Afshin Gopi. So 3 good days of training there. Were you impressed with what you saw from the local talent?
From first day, I'm quite impressed with the city of Vancouver, but when I see the quality that this the mainland and all the various communities that we have around Vancouver can provide this professional club, I'm very excited about the future. I see a lot of young, talented players. I see enormous diversity, and I see also not just the same type of players, but players with different qualities that can play different roles for the club.
So you've had a couple of weeks now in the job, and well, I guess a couple of months now. It's obviously a slow build. You've added a few players. I know there's a few more to get announced. Are you happy with where your squad is just now?
Well, I think what I'm happy about is the process that we're going through in vetting the players and trying to identify the personalities and the players that we want to bring into this organization. I'm quite picky, and I'm very, very detailed in trying to make sure that we sign players that we believe are going to be part of a big future of this club. So if we haven't announced so many signings, it's because partly because we are really, really selective in trying to identify the players that represents the DNA and what this club wants to represent.
And obviously a lot of local talent out today, and Rob's spoken about wanting this club to be a big part of the community and have a lot of local players. Are you looking out with Canada as well? Is there any international players that you might be looking to bring in, or are you just really focusing on the Canadian talent?
We are focusing on the Canadian talent, and we feel that we can sprinkle the team with a few international players, youth and senior international players that can in a way complete the squad. But the core of this team will be Canadian. The core of this team will be Vancouver. The core of this team will be this community.
Just very last thing, what do the next few weeks look like for you?
Very busy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's long days, but because I love what I do. And now I just have to do it with the rain on my head, which is I have to get used to that.
Yes,
but it's something that is kind of refreshing and at the same time quite wet.
That's true. It does get nicer. Thank you so much, Afshin. Thank you. Take care. Afshin Gopi there, just chatting a little bit about the players coming in, and as he said there, Zach, a lot for him to learn and get used to, especially having rain on his head. You better get used to that.
Yeah, you better, Head.
Especially if the stadium's not built and they haven't got a roof or something, or there's no dugouts in place.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a roof.
That's concerning. They better be in the press box. I don't want to be sitting there with my wet bits of paper. Get my PC all wet.
A box has a roof. Okay. By definition, Michael.
True. Anyway, at this time, 3 months out, maybe before the start of the season, how are you feeling about the team? Still got that new car smell, buzzing excitement?
Well, it does and it doesn't, right? Because this you don't know what the squad's going to look like. I don't know what the stadium's going to look like. The logo and branding and stuff is out, but the jersey isn't. So it'll be nice. I think it'll be nicer when those things all come out. But generally, still very excited about having a local football club to support. My
big concern is just media coverage that the club's going to get, and I know that they're working to do that, and people like ourselves, they want to be involved and have lots of coverage and have lots of access to the team. Hopefully they get more mainstream coverage as well. It was concerning. We'll play a little bit from the Callum Irvin introductory press conference in the next part. There was maybe 5-6 of us on that, and only 2 of us were from out west, and it was you and me. So right. That they need to try and amp up. But to put that in some context, the Whitecaps had their post-MLS Superdraft call, and there's 3 of us on that call, and that was with Axel and Vanny. So it's getting this media involvement, and hopefully that'll come. There's still a lot of work to get done. As I said, we'll sit down with Rob and we'll talk about all those aspects. If you've got any concerns or questions about how the season's going or anything you want to ask Rob, send them in to us, AFTN Canada on Twitter, aftncanada@hotmail.com. But that is it for this part. One more part to go, and we're going to be chatting about the first signing for Vancouver FC, Callum Irvin, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Ollie Bassett, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I really wanted a hand to touch your knees. I really wanted to share forgotten dreams, go through the motions of loving from afar, and feel as if I'm reaching for the stars. But each drop of hopelessness amounts to what could be a raging sea. It could be springtime, I'd meet her at the gates, if beauty ever comes to those who wait. Castles in the air, if only they were there, just like a beatnik love affair. Those castles in the air. So let me look into the windows of your soul. Let me make the most of what I'll never know. We'll eat forbidden fruits and sing our favorite songs and never tell each other we're wrong.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's another song from Terry Hall, this time from his band The Colourfield. That was Castles in the Air, their fourth single, taken from the debut album Virgins and Philistines. I think that was from 1985. I did not write down the year for that in the notes, but yeah, a great song by The Colourfield, and we'll have some more Terry Hall songs in the next episode as well. So for this final part of the show, we're going to just be talking a little bit more about Vancouver FC, and we're going to hear from their first signing. And that signing, of course, was Callum Irvin, the storied goalkeeper. We spoke a little bit about him in the last part. Callie making the move from Pacific in December. First of a few, perhaps, that we're going to see that's previously played for the purple side of BC. Callum is 29 now, which is crazy to think. It's like, man, time flies. He started his youth career with Marpole before moving to the Whitecaps, went to the University of Kentucky from 2012 to 2015. Stellar career there. 27 clean sheets, a slew of honours, was expected to be taken in the MLS draft, had actually signed an MLS contract, but wasn't taken. One of those Canadian players that suffered because of the stupid MLS rules that have them as international. But MLS's loss has proved to be CPL's gain over the years. He did join Rio Grande Toros in the USL in 2016, even got a call up to the bench of Dynamo, Houston Dynamo, and was with Ottawa Fury from 2017 to 2019, then joined Pacific in 2020, 3 seasons there, 57 appearances and a championship win with the Tridents. Great sign for Vancouver FC. And Zach and me got a chance to jump on his introductory press conference back in December. So we'll hear some stuff from us and a couple of the other journalists that were on the call as well. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, sit back and enjoy Callum Irvin.
Yeah, when we started this club, and we got into conversations with hiring a head coach, and obviously announcing Afshin about 2 months ago. Having those conversations with Afshin, talking about the type of club this is going to be, the type of player that we want to target. The first player that obviously Afshin did his homework on was Callum. And Callum had a tremendous few years at Pacific FC, won the league in 2021. Not only on the field, his character, what he brings, but off the field, Callum is a first-class person, first-class character, and really a leader in this league and a leader in this country. So we are very proud. We're very excited to bring a player like Callum into this club as our first signing. And he's also from Vancouver. And this club is sort of built by Vancouver for Vancouver. And to have our first signing be Callum, a Vancouver boy with experience in this league. I know him very well, and Afshin has got to know him. He's a world-class guy, and we are very excited to announce him as our inaugural signing for Vancouver Football Club. So very excited, very exciting day.
I'm so proud and happy to be here and to announce such a wonderful athlete and goalkeeper. Rob and I, in our discussion, we've always thought that we have to build this team from the goalkeeper position, and for us to compete, we need the best goalkeeper in Canada. And I did a lot of research, and I felt that we found a goalkeeper that brings consistency, a calmness, and a professionalism that every coach is looking for. And I'm really proud to have him sign, and I'm really excited to coach him and be part of his development. And I think in the next few years, you're going to see him not only be one of the best goalkeepers in the league, but maybe have a chance to be a national team goalkeeper for Canada.
I'm, first of all, very excited to be a part of this club, let alone be the first signing. For me, growing up in Vancouver, it's been a place that I've always wanted to play. And obviously within Canada, even it's been lacking opportunities in the past. And so now with the CPL coming in with all the teams across the country, it's been a great time for Canadian soccer. And then, I spent 3 good years at Pacific, as Rob alluded to. But when the opportunity came up to speak with Vancouver and speak with Afshin and speak with Rob, and I heard their vision for the club and their vision for me within the club, it was something that I had to give some serious thought to. And after that serious thought, I came to the conclusion that this was the best place for me to continue my career with an ambitious coach, an ambitious owner, and in a city that I love. So I couldn't be more happy to be signing for Vancouver FC, and I can't wait for the season to get started in 2023.
Callum, I think we've heard a lot from Rob and Afshin just on the vision of this club, and rightfully so. But now that you are the first player to be signed, how would you describe the project that was laid out to you to pull you away from the island to the mainland?
I think the main thing that got me was the fact that from day one, they want to instill success within the club. I think when you come into a league with already established teams, ways of playing, players that have been at clubs for a number of years, I think naturally people are going to look at a brand new club and go, okay, they're going to need some time to get going. Maybe they'll temper expectations a little bit. But for me, that's not how I operate. And it's not how Rob operates, and it's not how Afshin operates. If they're going to put their name on something, they want it to be successful from day one, and they're going to put everything they can into making it successful from day one. And so I loved that ambition. That's what I envisioned for the club when I saw that it was announced. I thought if you're going to bring a team to Vancouver from day one, you should be trying to compete for everything. And if you don't have that mentality, then there's no point in competing at all. So, once I heard that from them, and I heard the ambition when they talked about the club, it sold me pretty quickly on joining up and being a part of it.
Hey Callum, congratulations on coming home. Just wanted to ask you a little bit about that. You spoke about the vision that Rob and the club have. Obviously that played a huge part in you coming here, but how much of the lure of coming to play back in Vancouver was there for you, along with you joined Pacific in year 2 of the club, but this is your chance to be in at the ground foot and actually start something from the very start with this club?
Yeah, thanks for welcoming me there. But Vancouver is a special place to me. I grew up playing in Marpole for Marpole Soccer Club at Oak Park. I've played all throughout the Lower Mainland. So for me, it just feels like when they announced the team and I saw Vancouver FC and I saw the announcement of all the different places in the Lower Mainland, I saw myself, I saw, playing out in Langley, playing in Surrey, playing in North Van, West Van, Burnaby, everywhere. And so definitely the fact that it's at home, it's close to family, it's close to friends, people that have supported me from when I was 4 years old, kicking a ball around, chasing it on a field, to all the way through college and into the professional game, that those people who have been there can support me in their own backyard is something that is extremely special for me and something that I look forward to immensely.
I'm sure you're a lot happier than your photo shoot looked, because you weren't smiling much in that.
Yeah, that's how it goes these days. You have to put on the blue steel.
Second question for you though, Callum. Obviously you spent 3 years at Pacific, a lot of good memories there. You won a championship, you got to play in Champions League, and I know it was a tough decision for you to move away from there. When you look back at your time there, how do you feel you've grown as a goalkeeper, and what kind of reception do you think you're going to get when you do go back?
Well, first of all, it was a fantastic 3 years. The success that we had over those 3 years was something that I haven't really experienced in the professional game. Winning a championship in 2021, playing in CONCACAF in 2022. Those are all, building blocks within a career that give you experience and add to the knowledge that you have in the game. And so I'm always going to be grateful for those moments. But I think, it's the relationships that I made there that are probably the things that I'll miss the most and made it hardest to make a decision to leave, just because there's such good people around, teammates, coaches, people in the office. It's a real family atmosphere there. And I love my time on the island, as well as being with the fans, right? I built personal relationships with them as well. So, naturally football is a competitive game. When I go back to play against them, they're free to do as they please, supporting their team. But obviously Pacific and the island will always hold a special place in my heart, in my career, but just for me as a person as well. So I personally will be looking forward to it. And we'll see how it goes when it happens.
I just want to ask, between you and Rob, how much influence was there from Rob to get you to come over to Vancouver from Pacific? And Rob, and I guess your perspective, will we see potentially more players from Pacific make this move over the next few months?
I mean, Rob is obviously the head of Vancouver FC, so naturally conversations are going to be with him and AFTN, and he's going to do his best to bring in players that he and AFTN see fit to be at Vancouver FC. So naturally, he had an influence on me, but not in any sort of other way than this is a club that he's running, that he's trying to make successful, and he wanted to bring me in. And so it was a conversation like I've had with him when I was trying to come to Pacific FC, and conversations that I've had with other clubs in the past. So once the season ended, that's when things opened up for me, as I didn't really, speak to anybody until my season was done with Pacific FC. So once the season was over, and I was evaluating my options, that's when I spoke with Rob and AFTN.
Yeah, and just following up on that, look, at the end of the day, Callum was a free agent, right? So this has nothing to do with Pacific or not. Obviously, you've got the relationship with Callum. I've worked with him for 3 years. Like I said, everybody knows what he brings on the pitch. I obviously know and knew what he brings off the field, and having those leadership qualities is very important, especially in this startup, and obviously being from Vancouver. So, look, Callum had a lot of opportunities within the league, outside this league. So this wasn't easy to try to convince Callum to come to this startup opportunity. But again, I think he was convinced on the plans, the ambition. Obviously, AFTN talking to him. So, again, he was a free agent, much like any free agent. And I flexed my relationship with him, let's say, and convinced him to come. So again, we're very grateful that he made that decision, and I think it's going to make a statement across the league that by signing players like Callum, this club is ambitious, and hopefully more quality players like Callum end up signing for us.
Callum, for you, having grown up, playing in the Vancouver area, how important is a club like this to have another option in the CPL in Vancouver, and given all of the talent that there is in the area?
Yeah, I think it's hugely important that the CPL is in all the markets that it can possibly be in. And Vancouver is one of the biggest markets in the entire country. As you alluded to, there's a ton of talent throughout the Lower Mainland, and those kids are looking for an opportunity at the next level. They want to see somebody from their hometown, potentially doing what they want to do. They want to see that it's a real option for themselves. And so I think having a team in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver is so important for the development of the local players, as well as soccer across Canada.
Callum, you've touched on this a little bit, but that was more from the player development side of things. I think you know that there's a deep hunger and a deep thirst in the Lower Mainland for a football club like Vancouver FC. And I'm just wondering what it means to you to know that you're going to be a part of building a new football club in the Lower Mainland that can live up to the aspirations of all the fans, of all the supporters, of all the grassroots level. What does it mean to you to be a part of that? Yeah,
it means everything. I didn't think I'd get an opportunity like this in my career to be there on day one, trying to collaborate with the people, the fans, the soccer leaders within the community in Vancouver, and trying to build a club that services everyone, that takes the community's thoughts to heart and tries to be the best club it can be for the people of the region. And so for me as a player, obviously, first and foremost, I want to perform on the field and we want to be successful on the field, because that should be the aim of every football club. But I think with Vancouver FC and with me being from the area, there's so much more to it than just success on the field. It's about making real connections with the people in the stands, the people in the community, and trying to serve that community as best possible with the resources that we have as a football club. And so I think, from day one, we have a chance to really listen to the people around us and do our best to fit right into the community and help soccer grow.
Callum, you're an experienced player. Your experience makes you a natural leader. You probably will be a reference for the whole team. Have you been thinking about this role in this new team? And Afshin, do you think of Callum could be like the biggest leader in the team?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm at this stage in my career where, like you said, I've got some experience under my belt. I think that was part of the conversations that I had with Rob and Afshin was, what do they envision for me within the club? And for me, I think as well over the last 3 years, my role at Pacific was, starting to move more into I'm one of the older guys. The league has a lot of young guys in it. Maybe I'm not near the end of my career, but I'm somebody that I'm not 20 years old anymore, right? And so I think naturally, as a goalkeeper, you're also somebody that's communicating a lot, and so that role is kind of a part of the position. But for me, it's not about having a defined role as a leader. It's about just doing your part within the team. And, if I have experience and I can share, then I'll try and do so. I'll try and, help those around me. But as far as I can see on all successful teams, it's not about one guy. It's not about the coach. It's about everybody buying in and doing their part in order to help one another. It can't just be one voice or two voices. It has to come from everybody. So I'll obviously look to play my role using the experience that I had, but I also am hoping to gain new experience from this venture with this new club, and I'm looking forward to that.
I think one of the things that I've learned in my career is that there are different ways to lead, and I think what Callum brings is he doesn't lead by just being raw. He leads by showing confidence, and giving confidence to the players in front of him, bringing calmness, which is very important for a goalkeeper to keep everyone calm in very difficult situations. So I love his way of leadership, because this is the leadership that I think has depth, and that kind of depth I think makes teams better. So I'm really, really happy to have this kind of a leader, and as our first signing, and I'm certain he will be wearing our captain band. Because that's the reason why I brought him to this team with Rob. So I hope that answers your questions about his leadership.
So Callum Irvine there, just speaking about coming back home, back to Vancouver FC, and his excitement at a chance to build something here out in Langley, which he most certainly does. So, I mean, the signing of Callum Irvin, it's obviously a great signing for the clubs that we touched on it in the last part. What do you think he can mean to the team off the pitch? We know what he can mean on it, but what do you think he's going to be off the pitch and in the community? Because I think they want him to have that role and more involved in that side of the club as well.
Yeah, I think he helps bring that localness to the team, right? He's from the area, he's from the region. I don't, those in the community, I think for those who are in the football community already, I think that's helpful for a draw, to draw people in. But I think he'll probably be involved in what they do in the community, the ways they engage or choose to connect in the community. But then also in terms of how they do on the pitch, if he performs well on the pitch and helps the side perform well on the pitch because he's local, I think that adds to the story of the club, which is a story as the story grows, the engagement grows, right? That's partly, I think, what they're...
I mean, he spoke about the lure of coming home, what the club can mean to the local community, and he's going to have a very important part of that when you talk about his rise in the game and his struggles in the game and then coming back home. It's great. Hopefully there's a few more stories like that can be told as well, and we'll tell a few of them here on the show. So that is it for our Vancouver FC, our CPL, and basically all of our football chat. It's not it for the show though. We've still got time for this episode's wavelength. And since we just spoke to goalkeeper Callum Irvin there, I thought I would pick a goalkeeper-themed song for this week's wavelength. We're going back to 2021 and a song from an album we've played quite a few songs from over the past few months. Armchair Loyal is the band out of Birmingham in England. This is from their album All You Need Is In Love. And this song samples the 1972 classic Mouldy Old Dough by Lieutenant Pigeon. The band, coincidentally enough, that provided the original intro music to our fish and chips section on the show before we switched over to Word SOS, our friend from Scotland. This is Armchair Loyal and the goalie's faux pas.
Mr. R.T. Couch of Kenton in Middlesex was convinced that the Hull goalkeeper, Ian McKechnie, took more than the allowed 4 steps before he cleared the ball. Let's count McKechnie's step. There's 1 step. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 2 steps. There's 3 steps. There's 4. There's 5. There's 6. And there's 7. So the game should have been stopped there and then. It was from that clearance, of course, that Hull got their winner. There's 1 step. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 2 steps. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 3 steps. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 4. There's 5. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 6. And there's 7. Remember, he's allowed 4. So the game should have been stopped there and then. Remember, he's allowed 4.
It was the letter of the law. You were only allowed 4. Show the rules respect. Or they'll get an indirect. Not all referees need specs. So goalies had to watch their steps.
There's 1 step. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 2 steps. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 3 steps. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 4. There's 4. There's 4. Remember, he's allowed 4. he's allowed 4. There's 2 steps. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 3 steps. Remember, he's allowed 4. There's 4. There's 4. There's 4. The referee has chopped it off.
Showed you a couple of hilarious goalkeeping clangers. Well, I have to confess that I dropped a pretty heavy clanger of my own.
Armchair Loyal, the goalie's faux pas. We're hoping that Callum Irvin won't have any faux pas for Vancouver FC, but that, of course, is the curse of the goalkeeper. But that is it now for this episode of the show. Just before we go though, Zach, let everyone know where they can find you online and any final thoughts that you've got this week.
You can find me on Twitter very, very occasionally at Zachary AM. And if you don't have your Vancouver FC season ticket yet, you can put in your deposit now, $20. Make it happen.
Indeed. I'm Michael McCall. You can find me online at AFTN Canada. Give a watch to our YouTube videos, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. Got a new VMSL video up from the weekend. Croatia SC, Quitlam Mitford. If that isn't up by the time you listen to this, it will be pretty soon. So it was a very entertaining game, so check that one out. We will be back with another episode soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. Leave us a nice review on wherever you listen to your podcasts. Mon the Caps and Mon Vancouver FC. Bye, everybody.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left, yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.